Okay. So just now, you people have faced any glitch on the Teams part? Okay. So for us also we faced, I mean, I was handling another GPPB Delhi Tech community. Automatically in between, the recording has been stopped. So
Same for me, Ayendra.
so now we are in between some recording. The people has been left actually. We don't know. So we again going to reshare one more new link because it's a worldwide activity, right? So I don't know. Some crash has been happened. That's what the gut feel. Fine then. Thanks, Babu, and thanks, Ajay, for giving this opportunity. And hope you're able to see my screen, right? Okay. Okay. Thank you. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Rajanu Angul, a data platform MVP and a community super user, a Microsoft certified trainer as well. If you want to reach out to me, right-hand side, you can connect with me via LinkedIn. So maybe if any support on Power BI or Microsoft Fabric, any guidance, let me know so that I can help you accordingly. Fine. As a part of our today's activity, mastering security part in Power BI. So I have taken specifically this topic nowadays as we are moving on to the data governance strategies also in our real-time programs. So like data governance, which plays a major role internally, there is a security which is very important, matters for any kind of a data working people. So we are all into the data field. So what kind of a security comes across in Power BI? So as a part of our today's agenda, security architecture. So anyway, I'm just giving glimpses of in Power BI, how we will try to define the security and row level security. So in Power BI, how we will try to get it implement, what type of rules that we have in Power BI, static and dynamic. Briefly, I will share it with you. And column level, like sometimes some set of audience, they don't want to see some metrics or some number. Such kind of a scenario, how can we restrict the control on a column level or else a field level on a table? So that part also I will showcase to you. Instead of moving on to the external tools within Power BI using TMDL view, how you can try to configure that part I'm going to discuss, and objective level security and best practices. At the end, maybe if you have any queries or concerns, please don't hesitate and let us know. Okay. 1 second, sorry for this. So why security matters? So most of us working on a data part, sometimes we'll work on a sensitivity, data sensitivity globally, like we can configure it as in public or very confidential, strictly confidential, these kind of mechanisms we can segregate and categorize it on the data part. Suppose if you're working on a financial or as a banking sector related data, we have to get it sensitivity labels as well. So how we will try to configure the data for the sensitivity part, who is accessing our data, like example, financial or banking related sector. So that is very important for us. Even for HR data, there nowadays people are asking, we have to enable the labels for the HR data and even the tags as well to identify very quickly about their data. So we will try to set it out because data will be get it accessed by many audience if you are working in an organization. So suppose if you are creating a workspace, who are the user, like front-end user or the audience part, who is accessing your data, that is plays a major role while defining the security. And also regulatory part, which is very important, like we will do the thorough auditing each and every like company to the company differs. Auditing like every 6 months, we will audit it whether the password has been expired, or else maybe we can try to get it configure the technical user accounts instead of currently, right? Maybe few years back, we will try to configure with our own IDs like Azure Active Directories. But nowadays, we will try to configure these connections or else authentication mechanism via a kind of technical user accounts, which will be valid for some 6 months or this kind of 3 months, this kind of segregations, we can configure it. Why means, suppose if you're changing the company with the same login credentials, it will not get activate or work accordingly. So in such kind of a scenario, it's a completely a problem for the business people if you are left the organization. So in such kind of a scenario, technical user account plays a major role. So that's the reason auditing plays a major role on each and every 6 months or 3 months period. We will try to set it, the data security labels and what kind of a data we are accessing and consuming for the product or business part, we will segregate it accordingly. So security, in live semantic model also we can incorporate it. If maybe if you are using the connectivity from different ways, we can configure on the semantic model or data set. And if data security matters, like a different, as I said, right, sensitive labels, we can try to get it configure on Power BI. Fine. And one more thing, don't hesitate. Please post your queries if you have anything or if any suggestions or something is required on your day-to-day activities. Make sure that this session is completely live and mutually connected. Fine. As I said, coming to the Power BI, what kind of a security rules or else configurations we can do it. As I said, most of the time, Microsoft, earlier we are calling it as an Azure Active Directory Control as identification mechanism. Now the name has been changed to the Microsoft Entry ID-wise notification or else identify mechanism. We are following on security matters, where we will try to define these security concerns on the portal.azure.com, and there we can configure. So like a different set of levels, like a member role or group level or admin level access. So based on that, the user will be getting access to your workspace or allocation part in the workspace. In Power BI also we have different levels of layers like admins. Next level of priorities are members or contributors or viewer kind of a mechanism. So roles also we can try to set it out on Power BI part. Who is accessing or what kind of a roles we can try to provide it to the audience. And coming to the semantic model part, which is very, very important nowadays. So in Power BI, currently what is the glitch here? Suppose if I'm providing an access to the one of the customer end user, like to see the report, like example, I'm going to give it as a read access to the user. Automatically, whenever if you're providing an access to the report level, automatically semantic module is also have the similar role, which is still a constraint for some of the organization like us. So whenever if I'm giving a permissions like a read access, even the semantic module also comes as a read permission. So these are the similar kind of an approaches. So which is still a glitch in Power BI part. So we already raised in the MVP forum as well, but it is they have implemented, they're going to implement in the roadmap. Maybe that is expectations. So on a security control part, what if we want to provide a particular level of access in such kind of a scenario, we are going to implement a row level security here. Row level security is something like we can filter the data on the like maybe the regional level or maybe the sub particular categorical field level and so on. So there are two types. Anyway, I'm going to discuss that part on coming slides, row level security. And even the security model part, we can implement column level security, even the table level security, object level security too, which will comes under the CLS and OLS in the similar frame. And here, data source security part. So currently, as most of the organizations are moving to the Microsoft Fabric, so who is accessing like a Fabric level? So like security roles we can configure, like whether it is a structured or semi-structured or unstructured source systems, we can segregate. Still, is some of the features of preview. It's not completely general available, but we can also configure the one lake access security control at the lakehouse configurations part, like a read access, read write access, or only the permissions like a read permissions for the data, not to download or upload the data to the lake houses and so on. So these are the different type of security layers. We can control it at the workspace level, semantic model, that is data sets level, or even the data source security part. So types of accesses at the fabric and lake houses part. This is how many of you are aware of this row level security other than the organizers? Row level security. Just raise your hand. Anybody? Row level security. Heard this term? Yes, no, good. Just raise your hand. That's well and good. Thank you. So see here, row level security is still a matter. It is not a filtering on the filter pane. So when I'm seeing some of the people, right, still they're filtering the data at the filtering pane, which is not a correct approach. So we are filtering or restricting the data at the, I mean, like whatever the variables that we are going to consider. So you're going to consider the filtering logic, not at the filter pane. We have to implement it via modeling level. So we'll call it as a DAX filters there. And then we are going to implement either the regions or country or maybe a particular category, specific category where the end users has to get it access and so on. So suppose if you are not applying any kind of an filters or else some configurations at the Power BI desktop level. If you can publish this report, everyone, whoever the business is, they can access other regional data, other countries, other continents data, and so on. Suppose if you're getting a requirement like to implement, maybe simple example, Super Babu, he is located in Bangalore, he is handling some business. I want to give a specific rule to him to give, like, to see the access for that particular region. In such kind of a scenario, I'm going to implement row level security at the data part, not at the filter pane. So it's still a perception that we are going to implement the filtration on the filter pane, not like that. You are going to implement in the Power BI desktop level using the DAX filtration controls at modeling level. So you can configure it based on the regions, locations, and at the top of it, how you can try to add that particular regional level managers in such kind of a scenario. So you're going to play with both desktop level plus services level too. So you have to provide an access at services level to here. So you're going to define the roles in Power BI desktop. If you're using a methodology like a static approach based on some countries or static mechanism, countries or regions, and you're going to configure those countries or regions at the services level with those end users. Like that, it works. Row level security in a simple terminology. Like that, I just prepared a simple glimpses here to you. First of all, we will create a report. I will not read it out one by one. So first, we will create a report. Assume that you created one report and it is ready to use. Next, we'll just try to cross-verify what are the fields, on what basis we are going to implement the row level security. So we have to identify the similar fields, like example, employee ID, or maybe the location related details with the unique to. That means one-to-many kind of a relationship. And then we are going to define the roles via DAX, not the filter pane. So one of the experienced guy, I don't want to name it, still using the filter pane for row level security, which is not a correct approach. So we can use it and we can define the control and the data by using the specific region. Suppose if we are following the static row level security. So we can filter based on the regions at the desktop level by using the DAX filtrations on the data part. It works on the data level. And once you can configure the regions or whatever the categories that we have added in the rules part, you can define with the testing, validating the role in Power BI desktop itself, whether it is a working or not working by using view as a role. Let me showcase to you on the demo part how we can try to test as a role. And further part, once you tested and it is working as expected, and you have to cross verify the data part also. That means table view or data view, whether the data is getting filtered as per the label, as per the category or not. And then only we will come into the last stage. We can deploy this particular report to the Power BI services. We can start deploying to the services and the simple publish button, and we can cross verify at the data set level, whether we have to configure the roles or as user roles based on the navigation, and we can test it with the security groups as per the defined filter conditions via DAX filtrations. So even in the Power BI services too, we can test the user roles. So it's not like once we fixed and published this report, at the dataset level, you have to get it configure that particular specific users and test that user whether he is accessible report or not before giving an access to the customers. Like example, as I said, right? Once you publish the complete dashboard or report from the Power BI desktop to the services, everything is visible to any one of the audience if you are not defining the row level security. If you can start filtering this row level security on the desktop and implementing the semantic model or dataset level at services, we can also test it with the user, whether it is really working with that user, he can able to see the analysis or not by using test the role option at Power BI services. Simple terms, how we are going to define it. Anyway, I'm going to showcase to you on the modeling part. Once you click on this modeling tab at the Power BI desktop, we can define something like this. Like example, I have defined 4 to 5 different roles, like based on some category, automotive or clothing or games or sports. So here, based on the department from that particular specific table from where we need to get it filter, we can filter by using an expression department is equal to game. Game is one of the category. So maybe I want to give an access to that particular manager for games related. So I can filter that information based on the games. Department is equal to games. Like that, we can also define for the automotive clothing, and sports as well. Like that, we are going to define if we are working on a static row level security, static approach. So disadvantages is there. Maybe if you can increase more number of departments, what we have to do in such kind of a scenario, we have to again open this Power BI desktop manually. We have to add one more role. Maybe if there is one more department based on the products or departments. So that is a manual work. So currently, if you're following the strategy like a static row level security, again, we have to do the manual addition of the department, try to configure that particular department with the role, and we have to publish a tree again and give it access to that roles by using the static row level security. So most of the organizations will not follow the static row level approach until and unless the data is completely static. But as we are into the data vault, data is not going to be the static, it is completely growing data. So in such kind of a scenario, what is the approach? How can we proceed if the static row level security will not work out? So there is one more mechanism. If you're implementing the row level security on the data part, we will call it as an dynamic row level security. So here, if you're observing, you no need to add the roles like as I said, right, previous example here, automotive, clothing, and games, and so on. Here, it's a simple one of user principal name, which is the DAX function, which we will call it as an Azure level user principal name security mapping. You can define one single role, and we need to have a specific table for this with this employee or maybe the with those user list of details. Like example, if you are preparing the dynamic row level security, we need to maintain some specific standard. Like example, serial number, username. Maybe if you are following with the standard of a region level, means regions we are going to add it, and their email IDs. Maybe if you want to get it configured with the email ID space. If you are following the row level security based on emails, we have to make use of a DAX function name called user principal name, email ID address, email based user principal name, which is an authentication mechanism based on Azure Enter ID based on user principal name, user notification. Suppose sometimes, right, if your organization following with an username basis, username with a domain, in such kind of a scenario, we have another DAX function for this. There is username is the DAX function. So which we will follow with an username is a mechanism we can follow and get it filtered based on their roles. So example, if you're observing here, I have defined only one role, employee email address. This employee address, email address is available in this table, employee table. So email address is equal to user principal name. That's it. No other parameters has to be defined. User principal name. Suppose I want to give a configuration based on username in such kind of a scenario. Here, instead of calling it as an email address, username is going to be there, and then you are going to configure based on the domain plus username. Username is the DAX function in such kind of a scenario. Like that, with a one single role, no need to define a multiple roles like a static. So you need to maintain a specific table, separate table for this. Like example, employee, you can consider. Anyway, I will showcase to you in the part. You have to configure either from the Excel part, or maybe you can store the data in a database as well. You can try to extract that table, separate table, which I'm calling it as a serial number, username, that particular details like a region or country details, and their email address. So you can store it in the form of a database. Database is the preferable, suggestible approach, or maybe manually want to load it or something, means you can also prepare via Excel format also. So like that, we will prepare it. And then once you can configure the data set, you have to give a connectivity to this table, this particular, whatever you are maintaining as a separate table, to your model. It's very important. Modeling part, if you are not giving or configuring at the modeling part, it will not work on the visualization, or else it will not get it filtered with your, even if you are using the user principal name. So you have to get it configure and then proceed further. So here, example, email address is equal to user principal name. I have configured, and after that, I have set the model with a proper connection. And further part, we can test it with the proper email IDs within Power BI Desktop. We can test it as one or two roles, and we can publish it. That is the best approach if you're following the dynamic row level security. So how many of you following in our real-time working part, dynamic RLS? Please raise your hands, or you got the concept, right? Dynamic row level security. Anybody following this? Good. Thank you. So currently, there is one more important feature. I mean, we will call it as a dynamic only, but hierarchical row level security. So what it is? Example, there are some managers who is at the top level of access where they can view the complete, all the regions, all the product, all the details of information. And under the manager, there should be some team leads and the developers and so on. Okay, we can create in the form of a table. In such kind of a scenario, we will call it as a hierarchical row level security. Like manager have to give the complete access and team leads are example I'm saying, okay, developers and so on. We have to provide a specific control. In such kind of a scenario, there are some functions in the DAX part, path we can define based on the user IDs, and as well as we can define with the email IDs too, so that the segregations, like example, I'm reporting to one of the manager and myself, I have few more members as a, I mean, team members are there. So they are reporting to me. In such kind of a scenario, I can define a path. I can set it as a path based on the user ID and their email ID so that it will get it allocated. Me reporting to the manager, higher officials, so 1 to 2 or 2 to 4 and so on. This kind of a path segregation, we can define it on Power BI desktop level by using path and path contain functions, which is a organizational hierarchy. We can define these roles also via lookup transformation, lookup value transformation, and we can define these in the just like as I said right here, instead of email ID is equal to user principal name, you are going to define with an lookup value function and call the path functions and then user principal name combinations together. Such kind of a scenario, this hierarchical row level security also will work, and we can proceed further. So here, RLS important behavior, multiple roles. We can also use the OR logic there, maybe if you want to define or segregating this. And as I said, you can test the role in Power BI Excel, I mean, export it as an Excel, analyze in Excel, or you can also test it in the services part. So you can, but make sure that your logic is very simple if you are using or implementing the row level security. So performance, it will definitely get impacts while working on this row level security. These are the three things we have to convey to the business users too, if you're working with the huge models and so on. Here, if you're observing column level security earlier, I mean, like 1 or 2 years back, I'm also using the tabular editor, which is an external tool. So now, as a part of our learning today, I'm going to showcase to you this column level security and object level security directly within Power BI by using TMDL view, tabular model definition language. So anybody started working on TMDL view on Power BI desktop level? Anybody checked that option is there? With the help of this TMDL view also, we can restrict the columns and even the tables too. Even the metadata, the backend data as well. We can configure by using a simple script, and we can define this controlling activities via this column level security or object level security. This is a part which I'm going to showcase it to you today, both even the RLS concept as well. Suppose if you're using the CLS mechanism, make sure that the column, if you are using an explicit measure, like if you created already a measure by taking the reference of cost price or profit amount, so dynamically that particular measure activity also will be get it defined. You're already using on your measure as a parameter on your visualizations part. It's already PIA data part, production identifiable information part, it is protected. So the visual, right, whenever if you already implemented the CLS column level security, it's not going to visible to you. And if you want to test it together along with RLS, means it will not work. RLS plus CLS will not work out together. You have to get it configure exclusively with OBS, or I mean object level security itself. Combination of, maybe you'll get a regular question on even in some interviews. Can we implement RLS plus object level security together? No, it's not possible both together. So maybe if you want to get it implement one at a time, maybe you can implement the CLS, that means object level security, or row level security as individual concept, not together. Fine. Object level security, as I said, we can restrict the complete table, and even inside, if you're using some external measures, we can configure based on the measure as a kind of a simple drag and drop. So output mechanism part, if you're using that particular measure on your visualization part, it will be you will display, showcase some end of an error mechanism. So it is this a column or else this field is not available. That kind of a mechanism is going to visible to you on report definitions part. So you can also hide the columns or else as well as the tables. We can also restrict the specific measures. Maybe if you're already creating some explicit measures on the top of your data modeling part. Fine. If you're observing, RLS works on the data part. Suppose if the tabular model, if you want to get it filtered with some particular category, we can get it filter. For CLS or OLS, you no need to define with a row or else some data. So please keep in mind, CLS or OLS, you no need to call while working on CLS or OLS with a specific data level. We are not filtering it. We want to restrict the complete column or else table. That's what. So whatever the processing mechanism you are using on the modeling and creating the roles, don't define anything on the DAX filtration. You just avoid it, ignore it. So you are going to take the control of that role, which is an CLS or OLS, and you are going to use that CLS OLS object on the TMDL view, which is a direct mechanism to make use of your hiding or else displaying a particular table or column visibility part on the front end. Common mistakes. This is what hard coding the emails. Don't do that. And filter panes level security implementations. It's not a good way, suggestible way. And multiple roles behavior. We have to get it ignored and make sure that test it. I mean, both the levels. Don't, maybe once you publish into the services, it's not going to work, means it will work out. You can also test it at the services. I mean, like it will display like a small dots, but you can also test at the services level. I will showcase to you how we will try to test it on the services part. These are the common mistakes. So try to configure and give an access to that users based on the rules that you have been defined at the services level. Not like maybe if you're using the static row level security, by mistakenly sometimes one region to another region also we will add the email IDs, which is a common mistake. So we can get rid of these common mistakes if you're using dynamic row level security. Okay, fine. Let's come into the demo. If you have any questions or something, if you want to get it asked, please let me know. Moving on to the demo now. Any questions? Any questions?
Hi, Rajendra. If we implement the, can we implement the RLS if we use the direct lake mode in the lakehouse? In the Power BI service, can we implement or in desktop also?
Directly. We can implement it, but still some of the controls are missing if you are doing that processing part. I'm also testing that one. So still we need to cross verify whether still that is accessible or not. If you are using a direct query mechanism, right? You are asking.
Right, direct lake mode.
Yes. Directly, yes. Any other? Still, there is some issues. So I have tried this recently with the direct lake by using this, even the one lake also tested. Still, the user is able to view because still a preview feature is reflecting. Any other questions?
Yeah, hi Rajendra. Like, can you showcase me like about the Azure data groups, like how we are integrating to the RLS, like a high level thing?
Yeah. This is where portal.azure. I mean, this one, hope you're aware of this, right? Portal.azure.com. So here we will define the user list and add the specific control. Maybe if you're aware of external user access to, so Azure Microsoft Entra ID part, we will define the roles and we can configure it accordingly, like based on user groups or based on defining the users. This is completely my working related.
Like it will be
Just want to share it.
DL or what? Like if we are adding like like if we are adding 200 peoples, like it will be creating some DL or
don't
what?
add don't add 200 people altogether at a time. Try to create a distribution list from the IT team. Okay, ask them to create a distribution list with this set of users. Don't add one by one. So what I'm following is I got a recently one requirement to provide an access to 500 users. They're all into the 500 users for one particular department. So I'm not going to add all 500 email IDs into this, even the Power BI services level to test all the users. What I did in the sense, I asked my IT team to create a distribution list for these users, set of specific users. Those all comes into one particular department, and that particular chain or else distribution list I have added into my Power BI. Like that we can proceed, not like individually like 30 or even 30, 40 is also risky. So we don't know, maybe the person is left or something. So we have to create some distribution list and create it and add directly that distribution list to the services. That one is the best approach.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Rajendra.
No problem. Fine, moving on to the demo part. Hope you're able to see my another screen, right? Power BI, which is you already aware of these numbers and so on. Fine. Suppose, example, simple thing, static row level security. Let's try to discuss how we are going to implement. Suppose this report is completed. I'm going to publish into the services now, and I'm not going to provide any access level securities or row level security here. If you can provide an access to one particular user, he can see the complete views on all the countries, on all the segment wise and everything, if you can provide an access. Suppose an example, as I said, these are the country levels, 4 or 5 countries are there. Maybe assume that one person, my colleague is resides on France, and he want to view that particular regional level or else that particular country level access. We can define normal approaches if the countries are not going rapidly. We will follow a static row level security. So how we are going to do that? So here on this modeling part, manage roles, here you're going to define the roles based on the country. Like example, here if you're observing, 5 countries are there, 5 different, you can see here, Canada. I define these are the roles, 2, 3, 4, 5, Canada. And this particular filter, because on your table, this field is available, country field is there, country equal to Canada. So currently this is the new set of way of defining the rules. Previously, early, like 2 years back, we are using this approach, like a switch to the DAX filtration condition. Country is equal to, so it will come along with the table plus column equal to, single equal to Canada. This is the older version of defining the DAX filter. So this is a new one. So you just call that particular column where that field or country is available, that country equal to Canada. Like that, as I already mentioned in my PPT, you can also define the multiple rows, like with an OR logic, we can implement it together. Multiple rows also we can define. But here the question is, what if the roles or countries are getting increased over the period of time, a span of time? In such kind of a scenario, this approach is not a suggestible one. So example, I have defined these roles, 5 roles, and I want to test it. Where we are going to test it here? As I said here, before publishing the report itself, as a part of our development, we will test it here itself by using this view as a role here. View as a role. After defining these 5 roles, you can test it here, like by selecting and simply select it and cross-verify whether the data is getting filtered based on this values or not. So based on the Canada is filtering or not. Check it. Not completed it. So after checking, even you just have to navigate to the table or data view, cross-verify your data is getting filtered. So this is nothing but a row-level security, which we implemented on this particular field country. So whether the data is filtering on this financial table or not, that country Canada is filtering or not, we can also cross-verify here. 457 records are there. It's still not showcasing. So like that, you can test it on this data part too. If you're using the static row level security, no need to worry about data modeling level, because you are defining the rules not manually, not a dynamic approach. You need to configure something on this modeling part if you're using static row level security. So defining the manual rules is okay, but what, as I said, right? Question, if it is increases, number of regions or countries increases, what is true? Again, you have to open it, you have to do some development activities again. That is a process for this if you're working on static row level security. So in such kind of a scenario, see here, just now it's got filter. See this, you can see the Canada only. Just try to cross verify accordingly. So currently we are using the role as Canada only. Like that, you can cross check. And again, the issue here, let me showcase to you. Even in the services part, once after testing, yes, it is working fine as expected. I want to publish it, publish my report. Here also on the testing part, yeah. working on the static row level security? Anybody working on static? Anybody? No. Dynamic row level security. Dynamic. Your responses, please. Good. Great. Even today, completely jam actually. Sorry for that. So implementing hierarchical with this object level security combination. So let's see how it will go for one of the project. And very important as per the security norms and concerns part, just make sure that implement it early and test it on your own before sharing this access to the audience, so that we will get a clarity whether they are able to have or not. And as I already said, one of the glitch, whenever if you are providing an access to the audience, automatically they can also view your data set. Okay, they have they can check your data set, like what are the measures that have been created and what are the fields or table information that has been extracted. This all information is there. So recently, earlier it was not this functionality. Let me showcase you that part also, where it is and how it looks like.
Yes,
Suparna, we can
Yeah,
hear you.
Suparna, I can hear you.
Yes, Suparna.
I rejoined. Can you hear me now? Is there any problem? Anybody missed? Okay. Okay, 1 second. Let me share my screen. One second. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, Rajendra.
There is some problem, glitch at my end, or I'm not sure today. Okay, sorry for that inconvenience. Fine, hope you're able to see my screen. So here I'm discussing about the static row level security. So the data, once the testing part is done at the Power BI desktop level, whether the similar kind of, okay, before publishing onto the services, just try to check it, okay, whether it is working or not at the Power BI desktop level. Once it is done, so here row level security are going to define at 2 levels. At Power BI desktop level, you're going to test it. Once it is completed, you have to publish onto the services or online. There also you can have an option to test the role based on the user, whether they're accessing or not, we can test it. So assume that this is one of the report. I will publish it into, and let me stop my current view and publish it, one of the workspace. Let me publish it. Already defined the role, static row level security. So I'm not detailedly discussing the static row level security because most of the people are aware of it, how it is working and so on. So you just have to configure based on the regions or particular category and so on, and just call that as a data filter. So after that, you can test it here. So now I'm publishing this onto the services. Let's see how it works. Let me configure with demo workspace. So here I just mentioned for our reference with this SRLS static. Once it is done, so this is my workspace. I will tell you the problem, which is currently the problem. Suppose example, okay, if you provide an access to a customer or user, okay, a user with some read access, okay, read mechanism or read rules. Let me showcase to you automatically. Once you provide an access to the report with a read, semantic model also going to have the read access. So earlier we don't have this functionality, only the report access is there, but automatically once you provide an access to the report, backend semantic model also, the user able to see your fields, the columns which are available, or even the measures, and even you can try to explore with some data and some visualization. Let me showcase you that where it is and how it looks like. Let me just moving on to the one other workspace, M365 demo workspace. See here, assume that this is your report or financial, this is the one report, right? If you want to provide an access, basically we will follow this process. Here you can add the user automatically, semantic user level also, the user will be able to see the, semantic model also will have the similar access like a read permissions. Let me showcase you this. Let me add one user, like adding with Colton. Okay, see this report level, I'm providing an access, send it. You have added, right? One user, one new user has been added. Now what happened in the sense on the semantic model also, the user will be get added to this. Okay, Colton with the read access, which is earlier this functionality was not there. Automatically, once you get added, it's coming to the semantic model layer as well, so that he can view your data set and the fields, which is not acceptable in some of the projects, okay, which is confidential projects like finance, or if you're working in the real estate related, it is not a good approach. So other team member also, they can see your data part or fields which has been used. There is no control on your data part. So this is one of the feature which we have raised it as a roadmap part, and maybe in future we will expect only the report level the user will be observed, not at the dataset level. They will, even if you can click on this dataset, the user will not able to view the dataset read permissions or whatever. So here, come back to our SRLS. How can we define it? So let me showcase to you that part as well. Here, demo. On your dataset part, here on the security prospect, you can just try to check it. So currently you can see the 5 are different roles are there. Let me add one user for Canada. You're adding the user. Here, before providing an access to these people, try to check it, test it as a role. Here, more options, test as a role. Even for the RLS with the dynamic, you can see this functionality. But nowadays, that functionality has been get added in the form of you have to change the permissions from all access to the specific user and try to cross verify. Like that, Maybe if you can provide an access to the Canada region, this is the front end look. So now we can start providing access to the user and give the control accordingly. They can check this. Even you can see this country with the Canada. No other regions will be get visible to them. Like this, we can implement the static row level security. This is the first approach, which will not use it on regular basis, but this is the first mechanism if you want to implement static RLS. Like that, dynamic row level security, how it looks like. So I have already defined the DRLS, but if you're observing the same report, okay, I'm not going to define the roles like regions or country with only one single role that is based on one specific table. What I did in the sense, I have created one simple Excel file with a serial number, usernames, that means email IDs, and the regions and usernames. Let me showcase you that table also, how it looks like. So this table, right, you can define it via Excel and store it on some SharePoint, dedicated OneDrives, or maybe you can create the tables on database part also, that specific table with the user related information. So let me showcase you this DRLS. I mean, Excel file only I have used. Able to see my screen, right? Able to view? Okay. Give me a minute. It's stuck again. Yeah. I'm opening one of the file which I have defined with some of the roles. So it's opening. So once you created this, so what you have to do in the sense, you have to import this as a separate table. So it looks in this way. If you are using or implementing dynamic row level security, the table look in this way. Let me showcase you that. So I created with some specific users like a serial number or country or regions. Okay, just mention some different regions. Region information is also there. And their email ID, if you're following with the standard of user principal name is the functionality. That means DAX functionality. You can specify with the user principal name and then username also with the domain with username too. So a specific file for DRLS created and import it. We are aware of it, how to import this Excel file to this Power BI. We can import this table. So look and feel should be in this way. So just navigating to the data view, how the look and feel of this table. Let me showcase you that data view. Yeah. Serial number, Canada, I mean the countries, email IDs, and even I have added some external users too. Other than my domain, I have added some external users and their username. And after that, if you're implementing dynamic row level security, and this is the table, again and again, we no need to open this development desktop file, that is PBX file, and modify or else do some activity, some configuration mechanism on this. You just maybe in future, if the new country or new user adding to your specifications or regional level, you just have to update it in the backend. That is the data part. Automatically, whenever you are doing the refresh controls, the new data will be pop up and it will get appear here. And based on the connections, once you defined these roles as a separate table, don't forget on this modeling part, you have to give a proper connection between the country or region. You have to define the control and provide an, like, it's not yet completed. Once you have defined this relationship, try to navigate to this model and just try to cross verify in this managed roles here. So you can see only one role will be get visible to you. I mean, if you are more implementing the dynamic row level security, DRLS, and I will tell you what is this. Let me remove it. Not required. So DRLS, and this is our table, which is maintained with an email ID with a specific DAX function that is user principal name. Configure it. Maybe if you are familiar working with the older version of DAX filtration, you can also use it. Save it. After that, just try to check it, whether it is working or not. Save it and check it. So here, also we can test the roles based on the roles that you have been defined. Let me showcase to you that. So here, view as a roles. Let me open it. DRLS. Other user. Try to call that particular user. I mean, whatever that user that have been defined, test it. Let me check with one user, please, in my domain. Check it here. Okay, whether it is working or not, we can test it like this. If the user is having an access, you can see the result. This user, Ellison, is not at all available on our data. So see here how it looks like. Ellison is not there, right? You can see the complete blank information. Then what is available from this DRLS table? These are the users. Let me check with the Carlton. Okay, Carlton is there in our configuration as well. Carlton is there. Let me check with this user, Carlton, whether Carlton have an access to Mexico or not. We will see the analysis now. So suppose what will happen if you can provide or else share this access to someone who is not at all have this email ID or configuration on your table level configurations and relationship. He can view the analysis in this way, completely blank numbers, no visual as we displayed. So just now I have showcased to you with one user. Let me showcase to you with the Carlton, who is already having an access to this data set. Carlton, and he's going to have an access only for one particular country, that is Mexico. So you can check it on this country part. You country with Mexico and United States, two things, right? Like that, we can test on the Power BI desktop level, and now it is ready to publish onto the services too. So how you do? How we are going to power it? So it's this simple kind of a process. Publish it, and this report will be visible to it. Services. Let me publish it at quick. In a few minutes. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi Rajendra. For example, like if same user is handling Canada and France, how the dynamic row level security will work for him, and how the data will be flowing from which direction, like from the fact
one
to
side to. So if you're observing our model also, what I defined, I have created a separate table for this user list, correct? I named it as a DRLS in this particular scenario. So assume that you are the owner for two different regions or countries. So I'm going to add your email ID for two different regions on this particular DRLS data set. And the data should be flow from DRLS table to your financial based on the common column country. Country is a very common field on both of the fields, both of the tables, right? Both of the field data sets.
And I have
So you can
one more
configure
question.
it. Tell me.
Yeah. And one more question,
Tell me.
like if
Yes.
I see, like, can you go for that fact, the model link?
Model. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have used one serial number. That serial number connected with the that financial table. Like, can you open that model?
No. Here I haven't connected with the serial number. You can check here. In here itself, you no need to open. Here itself, you can check country to the country. I mapped it, right? Country to the country. Serial number is for the reference. Maybe in future, I want to implement the hierarchical row level security. This is going to be the sequence. Okay, this is number is going to be the sequence, and I'm going to add one more manage ID. Manage ID field. Maybe one particular this manager is going to the owner for this. And I will try to add some more configurations. But this serial number is for a sequence number only, not for any relationships or
For
mechanism.
confirmation, like I'm asking, like on the basis of country you added, right?
Yes.
Like if my user is not giving me the country, like he's giving me only the email ID, in that case,
you can call email ID plus what is the field parameter for this? Another, maybe based on the region or category or based on product wise. That one we have to configure. Product, you have to define with a unique table product and email ID.
which
Like
table
that
with
you have
the
to do. Yes, that is important here. So example here, country is my parameter where I want to provide an access. Maybe in your scenario, email ID is there plus some another important field parameter is there. That is going to be the country or product, or maybe some dimension related fields like some sales categories and so on. Based on that, you can create a unique table and give a connection from this field to this, and then you can configure it accordingly. Okay.
Yeah, and then like when you're explaining with the RLS, like the basic part, like the definitions, like I was having some technical glitch from my end, and
What is that?
RLS, when you implement RLS, or like we can't implement pro level security and object level security simultaneously, right? Like
No. I said static anyway, we will ignore it. Static, that is a very base level. If you're implementing dynamic row level security plus object level security, both combination will not work together. That's what I said.
Okay.
Both parallelly we will not implement. Like I'm going to showcase to you the object level security in a few minutes. So currently this is how the dynamic row level security work. And now let me publish it and let me showcase to where we are going to test it with the services level 2. Once you can configure the DLRLS. So I'm publishing onto the same workspace. M365, just naming change. DLRLS I just mentioned there. Hope it is beneficial. Let me know. Still, if any queries or something, please let me know. You can post it or unmute yourself. Yeah, you see here, once you configured and posted the services as well as your report as well as semantic model, here similar process how we tested with the static row level security. Here also you can test it, but very simple process is we can add the multiple users. Okay, suppose 1 to 10 means we can add individually. Suppose if it is a 20, 30 or growing to increase means we can create one distribution list. We can add the distribution list here and we can just save it. So suppose if you want to test with this dynamic row level security with a Carlton, that particular user, let me check with this. Let me add the Carlton for this. The user, okay, save it. I'm adding one user here. I want to test it. Ignore this one, okay. Sales price, that is I had created for another process mechanism. You can test it as a role. Just now I have showcased to you right here. Test as a role. Here, test as a role. So you can click on this and change the configurations here. By default, you can see now view as a DRLS. You can expand it. Choose the person. So instead here by default it is this. Choose the person, add the user and test it. Here, Carlton. Okay, Carlton. Apply the filter so that the data will be filtered accordingly based on the user. So this is how we will implement dynamic row level security. Is going to reflect. Please wait. Slowness is there. Sorry for that. Added, right? Okay. Apply. Coming to the before reflecting this dynamic row level security, let me showcase to you very quick. How can we implement object and table level security? This is very, very important here. Earlier, like a few months back, I am also using these external tools from this tabular editor with 2.3 version, or currently we are moving into the 3.1 version, the latest version. So make sure that if you're working on the tabular editor, your workspace should be the premium capacity. Okay, that is the new change. Okay, make sure that your workspaces should be premium. And even if you're using the licensed version of the tabular editor, you can simply use this tabular editor external tool. You can configure the object, the specific column or not. Maybe I want to visualize it with this specific column, not to visualize it means we can configure it accordingly using this tabular editor. You can see 2.173 is my version. Still, for this version also, we need a premium capacity. If you want to implement column level, that means field level security control. So what we have to do in the sense, similar process, what we have implemented for the dynamic RLS. So here, you are going to define the dynamic row level object level security. Go to this manage role. I have just created sales price field in my data set. If you're observing, sales price is there. Sales price or profit is sales price is there, right? Like a profit. So some of the places I have used the total profit also. This is my explicit measure, like extreme that I'm going to implement for the total profit wise. What I will do in the sense, I don't want to visualize this total profit value to some users. In such kind of a scenario, please observe here. Let me delete it. New role, give the name as a profit. Profit is my role. Don't define any filter conditions on the table. Here, in the scenario, you are not filtering the data. You are implementing on the object. That means field level. So no need to call the specific filter or column or something. So just create a role, save it, save it. So without using the external tools, how we are going to implement the object level security? That is our concept. Save it, close it. So everyone aware of this TMDL view? This is recently moved to the general. So you can implement it via directly this column level or else object level security via TMDL view, tabular model dimensional language view. So it's a completely scripting language. How we are going to implement it? Let me showcase you this. So I just created one new role, right? If you are observing the roles part, profit is my new role. And RLS we just configured with the data level, but this profit is not at all defined any of the roles there. Like a filter condition, I haven't defined it. So what I will do in the sense, let me create one new scripting page. Just simply drag and drop this profit. Simply drag and drop. So create or replace is going to create a script for you. Role for the profit, and model permission is the read permission. So here you have to write at which level you want to control. So maybe I want to give a table level permissions, means like you have to table inside the column level you want to control, right? Table permissions. You have to call the table. So using single inverted code, call the table. The table name is, what is the table name? Here the table name is financial. Call this table as it is. Make sure that your table as it is, like capital F, it will not allow it. Okay. Financials. Okay. Table permissions. And call here. So format is very, very important. So hierarchy should be model. Next, table permissions. Next, you have to use the one simple tab space. Now here you have to call the column level, column permissions. So column permissions, I'm going to call this profit as it is, profit. Even if it is applied on the measure or explicit measure or existing implicit measure, it will get reflected. I mean, it will be get controlled and not visible to the customer. So equal to, here you can try to set it as a none is your parameter. Read means the data set is readable. None means you're not providing any access control to that particular field or object profit. So apply the changes, and this is the workspace Power BI ID. Apply it and just try to check it over. So I want to check whether with this profit the data is getting filtered or not. So let me move back to this report. Going back to this modeling, view as here. Try to call this profit. So wherever I'm using the profit field and my visualization, right, it's completely disabled. You can see like this. This is how we can directly implement. You don't need to use the tabular models, tabular external tools. So you can directly implement via TMDL view. Either it is a table level, even if you can try to hide the table with the field. I mean, you can call that here TMDL view itself none. Okay, table permission is equal to none, so that it will automatically get implemented with the table level security. So maybe you'll get a question, Rajendra, you are going to implement only one particular column. Is possible to add multiple columns too? Yes, it is possible. You can add multiple columns here in this way. Like maybe if you want to control with the profit or sales value or some another, if you are observing my script, first one, like this, we can get it implement, and you can call these roles on your visualizations part. And once you define these on the TMDLU process, whether it is a table or the objects like a fields, you can publish it. No need to check it anything here. You can see with this, it is working as expected. You can publish it. You can publish this report. And here, by providing the permissions to the user, right, you can configure whether it's a profit or sales price value and so on. We can configure and we can provide an access to those audience. So like that, it's going to work it out. Okay, if you have any queries, so I'm taking some little bit of additional time. If you have any queries, and please let me know. I'm happy to answer. Any questions?
Yes, hi Rajendra. The TMDL is only for object level security and cannot be used for RLS, right?
Other RLS, no. RLS, we're already using this dynamic RLS via this specific data filter controls, right? No, not required.
Okay.
Earlier, right? That's what I'm saying. Earlier, we are using these external tools. We have to use this tabular models, tabular editor, or SQL. I mean, DAX Studio. Hope you are aware of DAX Studio. Both should be in the same version. Then only it's working. It's working earlier. But now, even if I define this RLS, right? If you can see here, OLS is there. All are disabled. Now they are asking you to upgrade to the licensed version of tabular editor models, which is not acceptable. So it's not able to change. Like here itself, we are changing to the default to the none option, like this, none option. Now after that, what we will do in the sense, we'll just try to save it. And this field is not going to visualize or else observe to you on this report level. Like that, it's working earlier. Now, within this TMDL view, we can implement this object level or column level security functionalities and cross-verify and provide an access accordingly to the audience. Got it? Clear?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll just try to few minutes only, Babu, and then I will stop and you can take it over. And see here, currently it is visualizing in this way because myself, I don't have any access. Check with this, call done. Apply, so that he is going to view two countries. You can see here, and this is how we can provide the access. Suppose if you are implementing a column level security, here we are going to add that users which they are not going to visualize or else observe those analysis. It will be get like this, I mean cross mark. Suppose if you can select that particular controls, you can see the what is the output, how it looks like as well. Like example, see here, output, see details. This field is like something went wrong, one or more fields is not available, total profit, which is an explicit measure. This is an explicit measure. Inside I'm using that particular specific column, right? It's not going to work out. Even if you're calling the direct column or explicit measure, it's not going to display to you. Like this, if you're implementing the dynamic row level security, or on the top of it, if you want to make sure that even this object level security, individually we have to use it, not the combination of DRLS plus OLS will work out. Okay. Fine, I'm good. And if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. Hope you like it.